When you talk about the journey, how did you foresee that journey evolving in the beginning?
I saw it as this big, I saw it as a big open, I saw a road. I saw a road heading off into the unknown. I didn't know where I was really going. I
Hmm.
just knew that I had to go forward on this road. And it takes time for people to figure out things. You know, you need to have these experiences and go along that road in order to know who you are and in order to know where your gifts can be best served in the
Hmm.
world.
You're listening to Entrepreneur Journeys, where I share insights and strategies based on owning and managing businesses while traveling and living on 3 continents. I also interview business owners about their journey, what they learned along the way, and how that can help you with your business growth. For more resources to accelerate your entrepreneur journey, head over to 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐜𝐿, where I share resources, events, community, and more. I'm your host, Joe Matz. Let's get started.
With us today is Aveline Clark. She is the founder of Six Star Business and Journey Point. Welcome to the show, Aveline.
Thank you so much, Joe. Thanks for having me.
It's such a pleasure to have you here. I'm glad our schedules worked out.
Yes, yes, it is. It's still a little bit. Oh no, it's the sun is starting to come up here.
Oh,
So
it's always a good day when the sun comes
yeah,
up.
that's right.
Where do you hail from today?
So I'm in Australia. You can probably tell from the accent, and I live in a lovely town on the far east coast, in the middle of Australia, far east, halfway up and down. If you just sort of get that picture, middle of Australia, far east coast. Um, you might have heard of the Gold Coast. I live just south of the Gold Coast, near
Okay.
Byron Bay,
Oh,
for reference.
I know more about the east part of Australia's geography now than I have ever known. Great. Well, you know, on our podcast, we interview all kinds of business owners and from all kinds of businesses. One of the questions I love to ask is when you were younger
Mm.
in elementary school or high school, whatever you might call it there, um, was there any indication that you would be a business owner?
Oh, that's a great question, Joe. I grew up with my dad owning and running his own business. And he had an office. He was successful. He actually was an insurance broker. And I saw him go to clients a lot. He had a home office as well. But my parents split when I was 11 and my dad left. And so I guess my experience of that business mindset and model shifted because then my mum was a workaholic of 3 jobs as an employee, 2 jobs for throughout my teenage years. So I didn't so much think I'm definitely going to be like my dad, but I had the influence of my mum saying, well, you just need to go to university and get a good job. So I was influenced there, even though there was this imprint of the freedom and the creation that comes with owning a business. And I remember going to my dad's office as a kid and I loved how he'd set it up and I loved the people that came in and I loved to see his office in the space and how he had things on the wall and inspiring quotes and things like that to motivate him. And that really, even to this day, I still remember seeing. I can see the dollar figure he had for his annual salary, the turnover he was aiming for on the wall.
So that was inspiring. Did
Mm.
At that point, did you think of it as goal setting or anything like that?
Yeah, yeah. I saw that my dad was goal setting, definitely. Yeah, and I think I remember asking him, "What's that, Dad?" And I think he said, "That's what I'm aiming to make in the business this year."
Okay. And so did you go on to school and as your mom had suggested to get a job, get a degree, get a
Yeah,
job? You did that. You,
yeah.
you took that
Did
route.
all that. Yeah, I did.
How'd
Yeah.
that work out?
Well, yeah, started university, paused university, moved states, continued university. I liked the experience of living and working with other people at the same time. So it took me a while to finish, but I did finish. And I enjoyed learning. But then, life happened to me and I fell into employment. And I fell into employment in a big way straight out of university, moved to the big smoke in Sydney and managed to land a job with one of the largest commodity trading companies in the world, whose Australian office was there in Sydney. And as a young person, I was pretty impressed that I got a salary that was far beyond all of my friends that were finishing university.
Well, that was nice.
Yeah.
So what happened then?
So I guess I went on, I was young, early 20s, and the money was impressive, of course, but then I wanted a career, I wanted experience, and there was actually not a lot of career advancement in that company because it was a very male-dominated, I have to say, sexist industry, and women were either office managers, secretaries, or receptionists. So even my boss acknowledged that, and he said, "I can't offer you a trading job," and he wanted to. So I had to leave eventually because I wasn't going to stay there.
Yeah, there was no more upside.
No more upside for me.
Wow.
And so I left and continued on the journey, I was seeking more meaning and more impact. And I knew that from the age of about 23, 24, I think I was. And I knew I wanted to do more. I didn't know exactly what or where. There wasn't a desire at that point to get into my own business. At that point, I knew that I had skills. There was an ego that was driving me, and a degree of knowledge that I could do whatever I wanted to achieve, whatever I wanted. But I saw that pathway in as an employee because that's all I had around me at that point.
Right. Now, you say more impact. Can we dive into your definition of impact at that time?
At that time, the impact was really on the people around me, but it was the company I was working within. So it was that.
Okay. You wanted to make more impact with the company where you were working.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the people. It was all people generated, based. My degree was in human resources and I majored in organizational change and development. That really fascinated me, the people side of things. And I actually had then also an accounting side, finance and accounting side to my degree. So I enjoyed business, the whole business aspect of business, but the people side of business. So I wanted to go into that and I did, and I found another job. And actually in a investment trading company for a little while, then before I moved on to a big company in Australia called Australia Post. And that was one of the pivotal roles of my career, I guess, that really helped form the basis of what I do today. I, again, landed in a role as a consultant, so not an employee to begin with, working for a man who reported to the managing director. So in Australia Post, so it's the Australian Postal Corporation, the head office was there. We had a building of 11 floor stories, and we were on the top story, and there was only about 8 employees on the whole floor, because that's where the managing director was, his secretary, the company secretary, a couple of the big senior executives, and my boss, because he was the head of human resources for execs and middle managers, and then me. And I had my own big plush office, and I actually had a bathroom. It was just because of the way that the building was laid out and the rooms and everything, that's what I ended up working in, this beautiful plush office. And I knew it was temporary, but it was mine for a few years. And I worked with a man who gave me a lot of creative autonomy and freedom. And he saw in me, I think, a lot of potential, but also the ability to create things. He knew that I was a creator. I like to do a project, see it implemented, and move on. And he would sort of plant little seeds with me and say, "Oh, we have this problem in the company. What do you think about that? Do you think you could do something with that?" So it started with creating a salary bonus process for all of their staff. And then it was training all of their, when I say staff, managers and execs, and then it was training them all. And then it was, the next project was building an intranet, an online intranet for all the employees. And then the next project was something else. And then it was, bringing in benefits to the salary bonus process. What was it? Where people could salary sacrifice and get a computer and mobile phones as part of their employment package. So there was all these projects that I would do. And as a result of that, I was always improving the experience for employees. And then I went on to a larger project to, do things that would touch all of the employees. And the last big thing I did there for the last sort of 18 months, 2 years, was I created a new employee experience for all of their employees that actually was all about how they were employed, how they felt, what their experience was. And I had a number of people that I engaged to help create these elements. So I started with the journey of the employees.
The journey of the employees. Yeah. What a great experience. And getting to work on all of those projects that were very different one from the other.
They really were. Yeah. Like I said, I had a lot of creative freedom, and a man that really taught me a lot. And he always said, if I was ever there beyond 5 o'clock or 5:30, he's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "What do you mean? I've just got to finish this thing." No. No one's dying here. Go home. The work will be here tomorrow. It's one of the best things that I messages and lessons I ever got early in the career, which still, it remains with me today. And we're not dealing with saving lives here. So Go home.
And that is so important for business owners and entrepreneurs, because it's so easy to work until 6, 7, 8, 8:30. And then, just yesterday, my wife and I, we worked, and then it's walking the dogs, and then it's just sitting outside and chatting. We didn't have dinner till 9 o'clock probably. And we worked until 7. And we still get involved with that sometimes. Some days, Mondays especially, are like that. We're coming back from the weekend. We're all energized. We're ready to go. Yeah. But you have to separate. It's so important, especially if you work from home. You have to separate your home life and your business life. When I first started working from home, and I started working from home, that was 35 years ago, I had different music playing in different rooms. So in my office, I had one music playing. It's more like jazz, instrumental. So I didn't get involved with listening to the music too much. It's background. But when I walked into the other room, I had my rock music playing. And that helped me to separate the experience.
What a great thing. I love that. Yeah.
It's like I'm out of the office. There's my rock and roll.
That's very cool. Love it.
Yeah, that was fun. So you're working there. It's going great. You had this big project, but you didn't stay there.
No. Again, the ego and the desire to do more kicked in. And someone I'd worked with there had moved on, and then she'd reached out a few times trying to take me across to the National Australia Bank. It's one of Australia's big 4 banks. And I'd said no a couple of times, and then finally a different role came along, and it was right up my alley, and they got me over, and it was managing their salary bonus process for all of their employees worldwide, because the National Australia Bank owns a number of other banks, like in New Zealand and Europe, and so it would impact about 55,000 employees. So I said, "Yep, I'll do that," because I did it at Australia Post. And little did I know that I actually took the role of 2 people. And so the bank saved some money and got a sucker to come in and do that, which I did that. And then another role opened up. So I did the salary bonus for a year, and then I was spent. It was pretty full on. Created a great process and a great experience for that. It went smoothly. but I wanted to create more rather than running a process or improving an existing process where people got paid. And sure enough, there was the woman that I previously worked with at Australia Post was there, and she said, we're creating a new role. It's brand new because the company has a problem. 25% of new employees leave after 18 months.
Wow.
And if you think about the cost of that, it's huge.
Yeah, sure.
And they couldn't actually even quantify it. They just knew it was costing them, in the tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars a year because of the number of employees that represented the cost of losing them, rehiring and retraining. And so they said, how about it? What do you think? And I jumped in because it was all about the journey. It was all about people. So therein started the next couple of years of the journey. And I created really a benchmarked onboarding experience for employees at NAB. And that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of hard work. It was very different to Australia Post because what I created at NAB was it was still across everything, but it was more intensive. It was more inclusive. It looked at technology, single sign-on. It looked at learning and development training programs. It looked at, design, everything, depending on where you were in the company and located in Australia, you got different sort of training or learning at certain points. There was metrics set up, there was check-ins, there was all these kinds of things. And I achieved that. And obviously, we know what corporate world is like. There's a lot of red tape. There's also a lot of, it's a very power hungry, sometimes cutthroat, sometimes difficult place to work in. And in order for me to achieve what I did, unfortunately, a lot of people's feathers were ruffled because a lot of people don't like change.
Don't like change. No. Here's the quote, right? Change is good. You go first.
Yeah. I mean, I was yelled at, I was screamed at, I was blamed, I was ignored, put down. And this was coming from very senior people at all walks of this company because what I was doing was impacting their patch or territory. So I got to see what human nature is like when, people are very controlling or attached to their little piece of turf.
Yes.
And unless something was going to make them look good, they didn't want a bar of it. And they actually didn't care about the greater good. They didn't care about what we were trying to achieve. They just cared about their little patch. Oh. So it was a big learning experience for me. It was tough, but I did it. And at the end, and we even had, some data and metrics to accompany everything for a number of months. And I just went, well, I don't need to stay to continue to watch the data improve. It's done, it's implemented, and it's going well. I managed to get my bonus that year. So of course they have a bonus process, and the way NAB works is when you're employed, you've got your base salary, and then they give you a maximum percentage bonus, and you can earn up to that percent, and that's broken down into certain components, as in some of it's based on KPIs and some of it's based on some other things. And that year they don't actually give a full 10% to anybody because it's graded and weighted across the organization. And this is because, remember, I ran the process 2 years prior. So I knew exactly how the bonus system worked. I knew who got paid what. I knew all of this. And so at my level, 10% was standard. In fact, some people had a maximum of less than 10%. That year, the CEO actually said, Aveline is getting 10%. She's getting a full bonus. And he actually personally congratulated me and thanked me for what I'd done. And he said these words. He said, "You've changed the game at NAB." And that meant the world to me, because it felt like I'd achieved what I set out to achieve, but I did it for not the bank's profitability. I did it for the people.
Right.
I did it for them to have a better experience. And once I'd achieved it, there was no point me staying. There was a career pathway for me. People were saying there's a corporate executive role near the CEO that's, yours if you want it in the next 12 months. And I just went, ugh, I need to go. I need to go on my own. And I was done. I was done with the corporate game, so to speak, because I think at that point, knowing that I'd impacted that many people, I realized that it was a very limited view, only staying within one company for that period of time, or for the rest of my life. I wasn't going to do it.
Right.
And I like change. I like innovation. So that was it. I sought out a way to leave, and I actually bought a kind of a franchise, but I actually set up a business to do HR coaching. And I moved states. I left, took my daughter with me, and then started my entrepreneur journey, not knowing really what I was doing.
But you had a general idea.
Yeah.
I think a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners find themselves at a different place today than they were 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And that's normal. You start out and you figure out who you are, what you want to do, and where you can have the most impact. Would you like to get in front of more of your ideal clients and at the same time build your brand and create evergreen content? Well, you can do that with podcast guesting. This very moment, you're listening to a podcast that may have been published today or 3 weeks ago or 3 years ago. In a very real sense, you're engaging with the speakers, hopefully enjoying yourself and learning something new at the same time. And you're getting to know the guest and how they help their clients, their customers, and the problems that they solve. You may even be their ideal client and want to learn more about them and download one of their free resources you can find in the show notes, or maybe even become a client of theirs. See, when you're a guest on a podcast, you will enjoy that same kind of engagement. It is perhaps the easiest, most cost-effective way to get in front of new audiences. Learn how you can be a guest on the right podcast and engage with your ideal clients with the free resources available at 𝐏𝐞𝐬𝐬𝐜𝐿.com. And today you have a business called 6-Star Business. Is that correct?
It is. Okay. Yeah.
Tell me a little about that.
Okay. And I want to link back to what you just said about, entrepreneurs. We're on a journey. So this is like the name of your podcast, and what it's all about is about the journey. And I just want to highlight, for me, I didn't know what I know today. I didn't know what I didn't know. I just knew at the start of my entrepreneur journey that I had to be on the journey. And I do see this with others as well who are entrepreneurs. They start out and they are searching.
So when you talk about the journey, how did you foresee that journey evolving in the beginning?
I saw it as this big, I saw it as a big open, I saw a road. I saw a road heading off into the unknown. I didn't know where I was really going. I just knew that I had to go forward on this road. And it takes time for people to figure out things. You need to have these experiences and go along that road in order to know who you are and in order to know where your gifts can be best served in the world. So it took me some time. And then with 6-Star Journey, the 6-Star Journey that I've had, the 6-Star Business that I've created, it's a podcast. We published a book. There is a community, and it's really beautiful how it's evolved. And it came about 2 years ago with this, first of all, with a podcast with a friend of mine at the time. And we decided to set up a podcast. It was like one of those, hey, that'd be a good idea. That would be a great name for a podcast, wouldn't it? Yeah, let's give that a go. Let's do it. And crazy enough, we did. And about 8 months later, he left. And it was all on me. So it was a bit of a shock at the time. It was difficult because it was like, hang on, I've got this concept. We've got this podcast and a community we're growing. And all of a sudden it was up to me to drive it. But I've got my other business and, I'm a mum as well. Like we've said, I need a balance of my life and work and my kids. And how am I going to do this? What am I going to do? And it was just the people that were around me who continually showed up and continually said, they wanted to keep connecting and they wanted it. Like there was momentum. And I thought, well, it's not, I don't want to pull myself out of that momentum just because I want to break or because I'm scared. So it was quite challenging because I had to face some fears and I had to make some decisions. And yes, it was tough for a while. And last year I saw it as a year of experimentation and trying things out. But all along, I've continued with the podcast, continue having these amazing conversations with people and, really delving into what it means to be a 6-star business. And I have to say now, after talking with about 200 people, 2 years of this, the concept is quite different to when we started the podcast initially. And for those that are thinking, oh, well, it must be about reviews, right? It's not about reviews. We know what 5-star means. We think of 5-star hotels and 5-star reviews on Google and Facebook, et cetera. And it's not about that.
It has nothing to do with reviews.
No, it's got nothing to do with reviews. Yeah. The way that you determine or perceive a 6-star business is up to you, of course. You could reach 5-star. What does that mean to you? Well, what does 6-star mean? And everyone's got their own kind of version of what it means. And it really comes down to this human aspect, the person, the heart element, how we bring purpose, love, and impact into our businesses and into the world. And really, it's an expression of everything that I've ever done, funnily enough. And I'm still creating journeys. And the 6-star business now is really a journey that I invite others to come on to explore the process and all the elements of what 6-star is.
So explore their own journey. And
exactly.
And Aveline, I love how you said you didn't know where the journey was going. You didn't know where the road was going, but you felt you needed to be on the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. It's there's something about that. It's hard to put it into words, but it's an adventure. It's needing to do something, but not sure exactly what, but knowing that this road or this path will get me there, hopefully. Yeah. Maybe I'll have to pivot along the way, right?
Exactly. And that's definitely happened, right? And it has been a journey of evolution. And 6-star was born out of like this crazy conversation one day of, what would 6-star look like? Hey, that's a good name for a podcast. And here we are. Here I am 2 years later. So,
yeah. And building the community, building up the podcast, talking with people, interviewing business owners, and all part of the journey.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Are there specific steps? Say, I want to have a 6-star business. Would you then show me a roadmap or something like that?
Yeah, I can. We have a genius model. You've seen the genius model with 3 circles. And I was looking at this the other day, and it's evolved. We've workshopped this. We've done sessions on this as a group. We've done live workshops. I was in London last year. I met up with a bunch of our community members there, and we worked on this. And there's 3 circles, and at the center of that is purpose, people, and impact. And then you've got the intersection of those 3 circles. And notice I'm not talking about the functions of a business, right? So I'm not giving a roadmap of, here's the 9 steps or the 7 steps to getting your business to 6-star. In fact, one thing that's come out of our conversations is that 6-star is an ongoing journey. It's like your purpose. You know, we have a personal purpose, and you may not ever reach that, but you're always aspiring to reach that. And that's kind of what Six Stars like. It's an ongoing search or a reach for that. And the reason we never reach it is because we're not perfect and we're always evolving.
Right.
And we can't control the outside elements around us. We can only control how we react to everything. So at the center, like I said, it's purpose, people, and impact. And I'll just read out the 9 elements I've got around the outside. So within purpose, we have mindset, we have community, we have collaboration. For people, we have culture, psych safety, and well-being. And the circle of impact, we have supply chain, customer journey, and sustainability. And the third circle is the one where the rubber hits the road in terms of the how the elements of our business, you know, like customer journey. You think about what comes into that, and that could be everything from marketing to, you know, all the things that, you know,
that's a big area just in itself. That's huge. A big area.
It's massive. Yeah. Exactly. It's really huge. And then you've got the supply chain, which is all the chain of everything. And even a solopreneur, even a small business has a supply chain, you know, where you probably do some outsourcing, or people do things for you, and, you know, where you get your materials from, or your inputs from, and your resources. And then there's the sustainability, and that comes into the sustainability of your business.
Right.
Right. Not necessarily the environment. So what I was looking at the other day, I was looking at the circle, and I realized that the 2 of the circles, the purpose and people, are all focused on the individual, the human. And the 3rd circle, impact, was on the business. So these 2 circles are all around people. So it's us and the people that work with us. And these are all the aspects of being Six Star that often don't get talked about. You know, what does it mean to be in community? What does community actually really mean? Well, It means to commune. It means to group come together. Why do we do that? Well, to feel safe, to feel loved, to have people that care about us, support us. You know, there's all of that. And that's a very different aspect than me talking about having a business plan and, you know, all those mechanical things of a business.
Right.
So we're not prescribing how to set up your business at all. It's actually the next level, right? It's that next level of being in your business.
Right. Yeah. When I was running a restaurant and I had 42 employees, at the end of the year, I had 120 W-2s. Now, W-2 is a tax form. So we had hired 80 people who weren't there anymore, and we had 42. And my objective was to create culture in that restaurant, to create a culture of people working together in that community. And it was a very fixed community, almost like a family, and to create experiences for our guests. But the focus was on community, and that could change throughout the seasons. It was a seasonal tourist location also. So it was very interesting. And I got a little pushback. From the owners. I was managing the restaurant, and you know, it's about culture now. Well, now it's all about culture there. I've left over 10 years ago, but now it's all about culture, community, and family.
That's right. People are, exactly. Our society has kind of shifted a lot, and we're becoming far more consciously aware of the need for connection. And I think even the last 3 years has definitely, you know, created a lot of shift in our perception of what we need as humans and how we connect and relate to each other.
Yeah, it's very interesting. You know, and I think COVID was a catalyst for the change. It just speeded things up, it seems.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
So apart from the Six Star business, which I find absolutely fascinating, that 2/3 of your circles there, if we had 3 circles, 2 of them are regarding people. And then just the third one is the operations maybe. And yeah. Yeah. So you're taking it from a very high level, let's say. Would you look at it that way?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's almost, I had a guest and she mentioned Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And she was talking about that and that the top level, the self-actualization level. And then she was talking about it in terms of her business and what she was, her niche. But then I got thinking about it and I thought, I wonder maybe if I looked at that, if I was to apply Maslow's hierarchy to a business, what we're doing is providing that self-actualization level to the triangle, the pyramid of Maslow's hierarchy. If you think about the structure of a business being in all those different levels, probably that one and the next one down.
Yeah, that's definitely something that almost sounds like a podcast or a very long newsletter, comparing those two.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And it's something we don't think about a lot as business owners, I believe. It's because it's all about working on your business and not in your business. And you have to work in your business, especially if you're a solopreneur or you're just starting out. But you have to work on your business too and on yourself. Because you're evolving, you're changing, the market is changing, your people are changing, your clients are changing, your technology is changing.
That's exactly right. And our businesses are expressions of us, especially, certainly solopreneurs, small businesses. I mean, all businesses start somewhere at the beginning with one person, and they're expressions of us. And we are part of nature. Guess what? We're always evolving.
Yes.
So our businesses need to evolve. The markets evolve. People change, like you just said. And I think for me, starting when I went, first of all, into working for myself all those years ago, I saw the business as a mechanical thing that was separate to me. So it was like, right, what's the mechanic? How is this business thing structured? This box, if we want to look at it that way. Let's build a new little dollhouse and that's separate to me. Okay, I need to run it this way. But I've completely changed that mindset, that model. And today I realize that I have to be evolving. Innovation is actually within myself as well as my business. And I've got to do that because I need to serve the needs of the people around me and the market around me.
Right. Yeah, that is profound. Yeah, and if you're listening here, you might want to rewind and listen to that again. That's deep, as we say here. That's deep. That's really deep.
I do that occasionally. Yes, and this is the space I'm in. I mean, these are the people around me. This is how we talk, and these are the things that we get into. And it is deep, and yet it's just so fulfilling. And it's lovely when you have, I guess, the ability to connect with other people and see that there is another way to be more impactful and purposeful in my business. I'm not alone thinking this way. Turning up to networking groups or business groups and people are just doing business and they have a place. Networking groups and business groups absolutely have a place, but you don't often find your tribe there unless you just want to stay in that space. But for those that do want to realize that this is a journey, you are going to evolve, and you want to bring your true gifts to the world, and you want to actually make more of an impact. And when I say impact, it doesn't need to be on the world. It doesn't need to be on your country. It could just be on the people around you or the customers you serve or your family. But it's about figuring out what's meaningful for you and being open to the journey.
Yes. It's when you're talking about that, I get this idea of designing a business. Designing your business so that it fulfills you.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I used to ask people, what is the purpose of business? And the answers I got, this was years ago. Oh my gosh, I haven't thought of this in years. The answers I got was to make a profit. And I said, no, that's not the purpose of business, because there are many businesses that don't make a profit. I have a friend, he's very successful. He bought his wife an art studio. It cost him about $3,000 a month to keep his wife in that store selling art. What's the purpose of that business? So I kind of discovered that the purpose of business is for the pleasure of the owner.
Yeah.
And if the owner's pleasure is making the most profit possible, then profit is there. If the pleasure of the owner is having something to do and making an impact, then and he gets pleasure from that, then that's fantastic.
Yeah.
When the business when the business owner stops getting pleasure, whatever that might be, from profit to people to impact to community wellness, whatever it might be. When they stop getting pleasure from that, their business is basically over.
Yes.
Then they have a job. They've worked themselves into a job.
Yeah, exactly. And I love the way you put that, Joe. And, you know, some people do just want to make money and make a profit. That's great. You know, and for those others that want to make more of an impact, or they want to have more meaning, what we invite people to explore is what gives them meaning. And that, like you just said, you know, that's to the pleasure of the business owner. And that could be impacting a whole niche of an industry or a community, or, you know, fill in the blanks.
It could be
finding that.
Go ahead.
It could be any of that, but you just got to find out what that is and ensure you then serve the needs of that market or that niche or that group with your service or product.
Yeah, it could be anything, you know. Yeah, and sometimes it's just giving back, you know. And I have a business, I have a podcast, but I also repair bicycles and give bicycles to underprivileged children and adults who need a bicycle to get to work. And that is a way of giving back. And that gives me great pleasure. I could spend that time working on my business, getting more clients, but there's a way to make an impact in something outside of my business and an interest that I have outside. And it gives me great pleasure.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. So, Aveline, we have arrived at the, a drum roll, please, the lightning round. I've got a number of questions for you. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. How has your entrepreneurial journey transformed you?
Oh, wow. It has, I have to say I've grown up as a human and become more responsible, more accountable, and more conscious.
Okay. And what most surprised you as a business owner?
The people that I met that were entrepreneurs, they weren't all like me.
Oh, that's strange. Okay. Question number 3. What unexpected challenge have you had to overcome?
Probably quite a lot. Probably other people again. So it's other people operating in a way that was contrary to my values, when I assumed at the time that they were on the same level, and I hadn't, you know, done the initial, I guess, due diligence on that person or set the boundaries of the relationship. And they operated alternatively that actually was quite damaging.
Interesting. That sounds like a whole conversation right there. Question number 4. What book has made a big impact on you, and who would you recommend it to?
Okay, well, there's 2, because this came up in a 6-star conversation just recently. So the most recent one over the last 12 months is a book called The One Thing. You may have heard of that.
I know that. I have that book.
Great book.
Yes.
For an overachiever like me, someone who does a lot, has a lot on their plate. Women who run businesses, we are so good at juggling. And when I read that book, it busted through so many of my beliefs. And I initially was against them. And I was like, no, I'm going to be open to this. And I have to say, he's right. That's all I'm going to say. He's right. And it's changed the way that I've done things. The other book is one that I've had for 20 years, and that's called The Four Agreements.
Oh, yes.
So by Don Miguel Ruiz. I would recommend either or both to every business owner. Because one's about values and principles, just human relationships, and the other one is about just focusing on the one thing. And that's all about time and energy management.
Yes, I love both books. They've had an impact on me also. Yeah, in fact, I've got it right there up top in my office here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Fifth and last question: what advice would you give to an inspiring entrepreneur in your industry?
In my industry, okay, I would say, know yourself. So spend the time to get to know who you really are. And that often requires being in mirror with other people, because often we don't know who we really are, or what challenges us, or what our dark spots are, our weaknesses are, until we're actually in relationship with others. But understand who you are, your values, and your purpose. Figure out your purpose and what brings you meaning. What brings you joy? Why are you doing what you're doing? Because if you can't answer that, you will flounder, and you won't, that pathway, that road ahead, you can't see that you're on the road ahead, and then you'll end up being pushed about by the winds.
Yes. Yes, like a sailboat without a rudder.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, great. I love that. Aveline, this has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, experience, and expertise with us.
Oh, thank you for having me, Joe. It's been a pleasure. And very fun and enjoyable chatting to you.
Thank you. Well, that makes me happy. Bye now. Bye-bye.
See you later. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Entrepreneur Journeys. Remember to subscribe so you catch all the episodes, and check out the show notes for any free giveaways or gifts that were mentioned during this show. Entrepreneur Journeys is brought to you by 𝐏𝐻𝐸, providing the insights, tools, and transformative structures to help you reach your business summit. I'm your show host, Joe Matz, and until next time, I hope your journey is filled with breathtaking views and successful outcomes.